All right, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. And I am recording this for folks who aren't able to join us today. So, or if you have to leave early or something like that, just know that we'll be sending out the recording from today as well. So, yeah, well, hopefully everyone's had a chance to access the form. And, if you join us late or you're watching the recording of this, feel free to fill out the form so we can follow up with you. And we'll just go ahead and take it away here. So hi everybody, my name's Megan Simmons and I am the lead at ISKME for all of our training and design work. We are an education nonprofit based in Half Moon Bay, California, just a little bit south of San Francisco. And we have been working in the OER space since around 2007 was when we were first funded by the Hewlett Foundation to create a digital library for all these wonderful folks like yourselves who were creating really fantastic openly licensed materials. And since 2007, our digital library has really evolved to meet the needs of educators as their, students have had, different needs and preferences, and their collaboration needs have changed over time. So we're not only a digital library, we also have a lot of collaboration supports like the California Community Colleges Hub that we'll be sharing with you all today. So a lot of my work at ISKME is focused on working all over the world, and we're doing a lot of national work too, working with states, both K-12 and higher ed, to really help them share better and collaborate better, not only face-to-face, but digitally. And really it's all around curriculum and courseware improvement. So making sure that we're using the most high quality teaching and learning materials and really helping our students be successful. So it's great work and we're really excited to welcome you all to the family. It's wonderful to be working in our home state. And I'll show you today, we've been working with various community colleges over the years, and this is just such a wonderful, exciting opportunity to connect all of us throughout the state. So really looking forward to learning from you today and supporting the great work that you're doing. So the plan for today is to give you just a brief overview of our larger digital library, OER Commons, and then we're going to dig into our community hub tools and supports that we have for you all. So I think it's kind of helpful to kind of see what else is out there as well, what other states are doing and community colleges are doing. So we'll show you and hopefully inspire you from the great work that other faculty and administrators have been doing around the world. And then we'll show you what we have created thus far for you all. And also because you all are administrators in the hub, we'll show you some of the content that you'll be able to manage with your additional privileges that you have on the hub. And really, I'm hoping that throughout our conversation today, you'll be able to make some connections and see how this hub can really support the great work that you're already doing. So that is the plan for today. And before we jump right in, I wanted to give Barbara a chance just to pop in and say hello and set a little bit more context into the work that we're doing throughout California. So
Thank you,
Barbara.
Megan. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to see all of you here, especially the few of you who actually have your real face showing instead of the permanent plastered picture. So thank you so much. I'm just so excited. I've been involved with OER since 2004, 2005. And one of the things that has come up is that over and over again, people say, I have information I want to share, but I don't know where or how to do it. Or I'm a coordinator, a DE coordinator, before we had OER coordinators, and my faculty want to share, but they don't know how to do it. So this year I have a fellowship with the Michelson 20 Million Minds Foundation. I'm very thankful for them for funding this position. Ryan is on the call as well, the webinar, and I work very closely with him at the foundation. And and Ryan, you can put your email in too, so people will know who you are. One of the wonderful things that Dr. Michelson, who's funding this foundation, and is very interested in student completion in higher ed, and he funded a hub for all of California community colleges. I've been trying to get this hub funded since I was working at the chancellor's office, and now there's some funding available. And so what this hub is a place where you and your faculty and your staff can post what you create. I know, and I've been working closely with Academic Senate. This is not a competing project. I want you to know that. But what I hear often is that the Senate is just starting with their initiative, and also the materials we posted in Canvas and not necessarily available for the world or to look at, and we want to share with each other. And this just hit me recently when I was at a community college, and a faculty member in air conditioning maintenance said he's created his own materials, and every term he emails them out to his faculty. He doesn't teach online, he's teaching face-to-face, and he doesn't have a website or use Canvas because it's face-to-face. So we've created this funding where we have the hub, we have 114, we will get the 115th college in if they would like one, 114 community colleges where we would like there to be 2 or 3 administrators from, oh, by the way, that's the term of when you can do the hub. That doesn't mean that you're an administrator at your college, but you have control as to entering things, and then also a place where everybody can search and share. We're also putting in some discipline groups. There's one now for the student initiative that Dr. Michelson's foundation is funding. And I just especially want to thank Megan and Ahmed, who you might have received email from, and all of ISKME for their terrific partnership and work with this, and for the foundation. I am going to be retiring from Foothill De Anza at the end of June, but continuing on with the 20 Million Minds, Michelson 20 Million Minds Foundation next year, so I'll still be around. Megan, I'll send it back to you, and thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Barbara. And thank you for all the great work that you've done. And I think this is such an exciting time to bring the larger team on board. And one thing that you'll learn working with us is we really are kind of designers at heart. We're educators, but also designers. And, you know, in the spirit of design thinking, we really like to be user-centered. So we want to design this so that it works for you and you're able to access what you need. So in the spirit of design thinking, feedback is always so welcome, and we really want to, you know, customize this to work for you all. So before we jump into looking at the different tools, just want to put that out there that, you know, we're still developing this, and you really help, you'll help make it be what it'll be and how it'll serve the state.
And if I could just say one thing, even just today, I received an email from Ahmed about a feature that I think is really going to be helpful that they've just added. And I also want to tell you, I've been uploading information, content into OER Commons, and it's easy. And if a non-techie like me says it's easy, you know it's easy.
That's great. And we're not going to get too deep into like using our authoring tool and things like that. We have, this is the first of a few trainings that we'll have So really this is just to kind of, give you an introduction, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper into the authoring tools and things like that. But yeah, at any time, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and chime in, or you can ask them in chat. We'll be monitoring that. So yeah, your input and feedback is most welcome, and will help us create something really great together. So I wanted to I know many of you are well versed in the world of OER, but I think it's always just kind of helpful to put the definition out there. So we're using common language. So, here's how we define OER. So it's really, anything that can be used for teaching and learning that either resides in the public domain or has been released under some kind of open license. So, really anything from, full course materials and textbooks to supplemental, resources and games and simulations, videos, things like that. And we always like to talk about OER in conjunction with open educational practice, because we have seen over the years some really wonderful shifts in practice and collaboration as people are adopting OER. So, really thinking about this opportunity to collaborate and share and think about continuous improvement through OER. And it's really exciting to see the new relationships that are, established, and the connections that folks are having, not only with educators at their school campuses, but, throughout the state and even, beyond, and the way that they're supporting each other, not only with peer review, but also, with, various types of feedback, or, co-authoring resources together. And really, thinking about the relevancy for the students who are in your classes, and how we can really localize the resources to meet their needs and preferences. And we're even seeing some faculty really involve students in this collaborative effort. That not only getting their feedback as well as, their peers, but even sometimes doing some co-authoring with their students, which is an interesting and exciting shift we're seeing. And then, of course, you all, as you're, some of the leaders of this work here in California, this opportunity for advocacy and sharing beyond, your campus is really exciting too. So we always like to talk about the importance of the resources, but also these shift in practices that we're seeing is really exciting. So before we jump into the live site, I just wanted to give just a quick overview of kind of what's available. So like I mentioned before, we have this digital library with lots of different supports for discovery. So we're really, using the best practices from library sciences to make sure that we have, really rich metadata, and some of the kind of digital librarian lenses that we have on these resources, so that folks can discover them and find what they need easily. And we have resources in our collection, not only from higher ed institutions, but individual authors and nonprofits and governmental agencies. So we really have a wealth of resources available. And then, as I mentioned, we also have some really great tools for collaboration. And these tools really have developed as a direct result of our community asking for them and saying that they want resources so that they can create together and curate or organize resources together, that they can evaluate them and do this peer review, and really have specific and tailored workspaces for their different initiatives within the library. So that was kind of the genesis of our groups and hubs that we have available to folks. We're not going to get too deep into this, but just so you know, if you are, a very quality kind of minded person, we do have rubrics and, star ratings and comment features on the resources so that folks can have a bit of dialogue that, are directly connected to the resources. So you might see that as you're doing some searching and browsing on the resources that anyone who is a part of our community can share that directly on the resources. And then we also have these tools for design and remix with our authoring tools. And like I said, we're not going to go too far down there because we could spend a whole hour just looking at that. But that is something that we'll explore at a later date, just so that you know. But these are some of the options for for what you can do on the site. And I'm going to actually just transition now to the live site. And so let me just share that. Let's see. I'm hoping, sometimes Zoom can be a little funky. I'm hoping you all can see my browser. Can somebody just let me know? On my screen, it's showing
Yep,
OER
we have it,
comments.
Megan. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks. Yeah. I always want to double check because sometimes the share screen is kind of funky with Zoom. So here we are. I am on the live site here, oercommons.org. And so, to kind of think of like where the hub is in relation to the larger site. So if OER Commons is our larger digital library, the hub is maybe, if we want to make a comparison to a physical library, it would be like a wing of the library. So this is the California Community College's wing that we'll be looking at. But before we do that, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what's here in the collection, because what we have in the hub right now are resources and supports that are specific to you all. But if you're interested in kind of exploring the larger library and bringing resources from the larger library into the hub, I just wanted to quickly show you how you can do that. So here's a home page. If you're interested in kind of seeing how we have our resources organized under this Discover tab, you can see the different major subject areas we have, grade levels, material types, and kind of how that's broken down. You can also see who our providers are. So if you're curious, who are these wonderful folks that are sharing resources, you can browse and see what other higher ed institutions or organizations and folks are sharing. But what most people do when they first come to the site is do a quick keyword search here in our search bar, or you can also do an advanced search where you can, if you know kind of more specifically what you're interested in, you can narrow in by subject area, the material type. If you know that you want, let's say you want a full course, or something that includes case studies and textbooks. You can also click on things that have membership activity. If you need certain accessibility supports or media formats, if you're needing things that are compatible with different devices, you can do that. So lots of things that you can narrow in here in advanced search. And let's say here, I was doing some economics searching earlier. And so when you do a search, you get your returns. And so here we got 42 resources, but maybe sometimes when you're doing a search, you might get, a couple thousand or a couple hundred. And so you can always refine your search over here on the left-hand side. So let's say I know I just want community college and college resources. So that's kind of narrowed it down. You can also, get specific by subject areas. So if I know something, I want things specific to math, I can do that. And so you can kind of like you can do on advanced search, you can narrow it down directly from the returns as well. So a lot of folks, this is where they start, is just kind of, doing some searching and seeing what's out there. I know a lot of you are already thinking of doing your, starting to create your own resources, which is great. But sometimes it's nice to see kind of what's out there. So I just clicked on this. This is a macroeconomics textbook, and this is taking me to, this is an OpenStax textbook. And one of the nice things here is, there's a lot of different things you can do with the resource. One of them is you can save it either to your own personal profile, or you can save it to your groups. And I'll show you where our groups are. But let's say, sorry, I have a lot of groups. I have a lot of different projects. But let's say I am a faculty at Compton College and I want to save this in my Compton College group. I can do that directly from the resource, which is kind of nice. So I know that's one workflow that quite a lot of you will be exploring. So I just wanted to share that. So lots of options for, just doing some searching there. Before I jump into our hub, I just wanted to kind of show you an example of what some other community colleges have been doing that have been doing this work with these tools a little bit longer, hopefully to inspire you. And when you click on hubs, I don't think ours is live yet, but once we make the California Community Colleges hub live, it'll show up here. But as you can see, we have quite a few different hubs here. These are all different initiatives. Some of them are kind of content-based. Some of them are state initiatives. Others are international consortia, like we have some work in the Caribbean and in the Middle East. So lots of interesting inspiration here, but I wanted to just show what they're doing in Michigan with their community colleges. They have only 28 community colleges in Michigan. But what they're doing here is kind of, similar to what you all are doing. They have some collections here, and then they have their colleges, and where quite a few of them started was with their high enrollment courses. And I wanted to just show, this is one community college, Lansing Community College, what they've been doing. So they have 20 members, this is their group, and they have 143 resources that they've curated so far. And they're doing it by discipline, and their librarian is really kind of spearheading this work for the college. And so what she talks about is kind of her process is she likes to present kind of a buffet of what's available there. So she has done some curation work for these different courses that she's working on. And then she has a discussion with the faculty on, what their kind of needs are. And, maybe they found a great textbook, but they would just want to use a few sections of it, or maybe, they want to pull from a couple different sources. But one interesting thing that I like to share, because this, some of the work that their psychology faculty has been working on has directly impacted some folks here in California, is, they found some great resources for psychology from OpenStax, from NOBA psychology, and they found some real gap areas. In particular around this Tao of positive psychology theme. And so one of their faculty, Mark Kelland, actually used our authoring tools to create his own textbook to teach this. And I didn't even know about this. The Michigan folks didn't even share this with me. How I found out about it was I was working here in California at Skyline Community Colleges, and they were so thrilled. They had just seen that Mark had shared it and they were using it. So it's really exciting to see kind of, what happens once folks, share their resources. So I wanted to just kind of show a little bit of what other states have done, just so you can kind of see how others are kind of conceptualizing this. So now I want to go over to our hub, and I'll put the link in chat here in case any of you want to kind of play around in there. So here's what it looks like at this point. And so basically how we've designed it is we have this top area here with some images. I think these were created by students, which is great. And you can search the hub resources here. So you can search the resources that have been curated in this hub. And so basically, this is your specific space within the larger library for you all to curate and share resources. Trudy, a College of Canyon students. Oh, great, yeah. So yeah, Trudy made this image. We have this search bar there, so you can search, what's been curated so far. We have this navigation here where you can see kind of how we've designed the hub. We have a little bit of information here about this community college hub and kind of, what what we'd like to do here. Right under here, we have our college groups, and as Barbara mentioned, we have 114. So we put them in these different tabs by alphabet so that it wouldn't be too overwhelming. So hopefully you can find yourself in here. And as I mentioned, we've been doing some work over the years with Skyline Community College. So I'll just click on their group so you can kind of see what's been happening there. So this is not just Skyline Community College, but their whole district. They have been doing some work around curating and authoring and remixing resources here. And so you can see they have 30 members that have been working on this, and they've put together so far almost 200 resources. And here, kind of similar to Michigan, they've really picked some of their high enrollment courses or high need courses to do some of this work. And so they have these different folders, and they even have some subfolders. You can see here, like the biology team has 3 different courses in there. This is where they have been saving a lot of resources that they either want to review for these different courses, or they really want to encourage faculty to use. So that's kind of the main thing in the groups is sharing resources and saving resources. And I'm a member of this group, so this green bar here says contribute to this group, but if you haven't yet joined your group, it'll say join this group or request to join this group on this green bar. And depending on the settings of your group, you'll either have to request or you can join automatically. And once you're a member, you can submit resources to this group. Let's say that you have some resources that aren't in our collection that are online and openly licensed you want to submit, you can do that. Or you can use some of our different authoring tools, the resource builder, lesson or module builder, to author resources like Mark Kellen did over in Michigan. So a lot of the work that we see happening in the groups is the curation piece, saving resources to different folders or subfolders, or doing some co-authoring or authoring in the groups. But we also have other supports, like having a discussion in the group. To be honest, this is something a lot of people like the idea of, but not everybody uses. So, you can kind of think about how you want to do that. Sometimes we've seen folks like put up different kind of requests for feedback, or if they have a challenge, to have a discussion there. So you can kind of use that as you like. And the way that you start a new discussion is you give it a title, and then you can put in some text. And if you want to include any links, or, you can do some formatting here, and you can make it so that anyone can see your discussion or only group members. So there are some kind of privacy settings that you can put on things if you just want this to be something that the members of your group have access to, or if you're okay with, the larger hub community being able to see it. So.
Megan, it's Barbara. Could I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we're all clear that we don't actually need to search every group in order to find a resource. Oh, looks like Skyline has microbiology. If you want microbiology, we could just search microbiology, and Skyline and the others would pop up. Is that correct?
So if you are searching for hub resources, you can just search in that first search bar.
Okay.
The other part you can kind of think of as like a kind of collaborative workspace for the colleges to decide what kind of their priorities are and what they want to work on. So,
and the other question then would be, people in the group can work privately until they feel that the resource is ready, and then press publish. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So, if you're doing, some authoring or co-authoring in your group with folks, it's automatically saved as a draft until you click publish. And there are even some supports that we have. Let's say you want to have kind of some vetting before people publish things. I'm just going to get into the manage group settings right now, just so you can kind of see some of the back end. So I think everyone here will be managing a group. And so once you have those permissions, when you click on manage group, you can see here, this is just kind of the profile information. So if you wanted to change anything about the description of the group or change the logo, you can do that here. You can also change or add administrators to, or pass the torch if you are going to leave and you want to give it to someone else. But here under membership control, so this particular group, they wanted to leave it open so anyone can join, but you can also make it so that people need to be approved to join the group. So that's one kind of privacy measure. And then here, this option, resources require approval. If you click that, basically what that means is before people can publish their courseware or modules or whatever they're creating, that a group administrator will need to approve it before it goes out to the larger community. But at any time, as people are working in drafts, the group members can see what they're creating.
Right, and as having just limited experience as a hub administrator, I personally think it would be easier to just have people joining need approval, because then you can just see your college edu address and click yes, and then not have to require approval before they publish. Because if somebody's publishing 10 or 15 items, I wouldn't want to have to approve every one of them before they get posted. I'll not be pleasant. But I might want to make sure that it's not somebody joining the group who's not from my college, just to make sure on that part.
Yeah, that's a good point. And really it is a personal preference. I will say, people don't tend to, come in and like mess with groups, if you will. So that's, not really like a concern, that we've seen, like, people coming in and causing problems or whatever. So yeah, it really is just a personal preference. And I think one of the things that you mentioned, Barbara, is, like, do you have the bandwidth to approve? That's why it's nice to have kind of share the load, so that you can make sure that somebody is regularly, if you do require people to request, that you are regularly checking that and making sure that you are approving them. And then, yeah, with the resources, if you're going to require that, it's important to make sure that you have the bandwidth to
Yeah, I think it's easier for me to
yeah.
just check once on each person. And I say, oh, okay, Iris just wants approval. Sure, there. And then I don't have to bother, who am I to look at what she's producing for and developing for another discipline and decide whether it's ready or not. I'd rather leave that to the faculty who are developing it and just make sure that it's just somebody from my college who signed in. Although, as Megan said, maybe people aren't rushing to join the Skyline when they're from, I don't know, Canada or Japan. So you may not have to bother with that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really up to you, and you can change it at any time. So let's say you make folks request to join and you realize you can't keep up with it. That's okay. You can, always change the settings whenever you like. So, yeah, and another kind of interesting thing here in membership control is you can invite people directly here. So you can put in their email addresses and separate them with a comma. And basically what happens is they get an email invite from the group, which is kind of nice. So there's a link to the group, and folks can join directly from the invitation. So that's something too, as you're kind of thinking of engaging folks across your campus, in here under membership control is one way that you can invite them directly. So yeah, so that's a little bit about some of the kind of back end controls and permissions that you can think about. What would work best for your workflow and what you're trying to do. Here in members, when you click on this, you can see if folks are requesting to join, they'll show up at the top here. But you can see, who is a member, and, some folks choose to put their photo and on their profile, put some information about themselves. Others don't. It's totally, up to them. But here's where you can see that. And then information is just the information about the group that, of course, you can change at any time. And then the recent activity is kind of interesting just to see what folks are actually doing here in the group and what they're sharing. So yeah, so that's the group, and I'm going to go back to the hub. Were there any other questions about the group? Hopefully you all can find yourselves in one of these groups here. The other thing that we have available here is, as Barbara mentioned, the discipline groups. So we do have this student advocacy group that she mentioned, and I don't know, Barbara, if there's anything you want to say about this, but we have 16 members, and so far they've curated 13 different resources, and I'm assuming—
And when they've completed this, this is a toolkit which the Michelson Foundation is funding, and it's for 16 students for paid internships, and it's a cross project between CCC and CSU, and it's on how to do OER advocacy. It's not published yet. When it gets published, the grant ends the end of December. When it gets published, then it will be up here for everybody to see. You won't see all the little agendas and workshop files and so on. You'll see the final toolkit on there. And if you're going to OLC this year in June, the students will be presenting. And Matthew, yes, we will make sure that you are an administrator of the group along with Allie. So thank you.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, just to show here, since I have admin privileges kind of across the board here, this is kind of what you see, like all the different drafts that the students are working on. So as you're, leading this work in your groups, this is kind of what you'll see. So only the group members would see things like drafts. Until they're published, they're not available more openly. But it's great just to kind of see what the students are working on, some different flyers and handouts and things like that. That's wonderful. So yeah, and it sounds like there's, opportunities for other kind of discipline specific groups to go on here as well. So it'd be interesting just to kind of know from folks on the call, or other opportunities for what other disciplines might show up. And then below here we have the OER collections that our team of digital librarians have put together for you all. So these are, pulled from our larger OER Commons library, and these are some resources that folks in community colleges have been using more widely. So some of these you might be familiar with, like we saw the NOBA psychology, OpenStax, of course. There's also some resources from Open Oregon and Saylor and Open SUNY in New York textbooks, so and BC Campus. So here's some of the collections that we've pulled together for you all. And for this in particular as well, I want to kind of mention that there is kind of a feedback loop here for how kind of what happens in the groups in go in collections. So there is an opportunity for some of the great curation and authoring that's happening in the groups to then become collections. So as we're kind of in design mode and thinking about that, like let's say that we know a few colleges are, collaborating to work on a particular course, or, resources for a particular discipline. Once that's kind of ready to be shared more widely, there is a way that we can take the great work that has happened in the groups and make it kind of stand out as a collection. So I just wanted to share that as well, so that kind of how your hub collections can evolve over time based off of the work happening in groups. And the way that we do that is, this is kind of the librarian side. We give the resources a custom keyword. So that keyword will, as long as it's put on the description of different resources, will then populate a collection. So that's something to think about too, as we're doing this great work, to think about what we want to kind of pull out from the groups as well. And just to be clear, when you're searching in the hub, you're searching not only the collections, but also all the resources in the groups. So lots of different ways to access resources here. So, I think collections will be something that will certainly evolve over time. And as we get feedback from you all, and as you share with us your needs and preferences and what your priorities are and what you're working on, so just know that this is something that we really hope you'll help inform what we kind of pull out and showcase in the collections area.
Megan, could I add one question? Because I've been getting so far like 7 of the same private type email questions about all of you who are on here and want to be admins. So yes, where we took the admin list was from the DE coordinators list on the Chancellor's site, and the OER coordinators from the Academic Senate site, and just hoped that people replied back and joined. So one of the things that you'll need to do, we're going to send this out in the follow-up email, which is why we asked you to fill out the forms. One of the things that you'll need to do is create your profile, which was in an email that I sent to all of you, and I'll send it out again. And then we'll make sure that either Ahmed adds you in as administrators, or he gives me permission to add all of you in as administrators, because we want you to be the admins. And I just noticed that on the Chancellor's Office website, for example, one of the colleges, the DE coordinator, I know retired in October, and the person who's the new, the DE dean, and the new DE dean, isn't on the website yet. So we need to take care of that. So thank you very much for sending me those, and we'll follow up.
Yeah, and that's something that we can do really quickly. So as long as we have your info, you know, your email and what group you want to belong to, we can get you up there as soon as possible. So that's great. Thanks. And thanks for your eagerness to want to be an administrator. I think that's great. So I just wanted to share a couple other things that are on here. So we have some videos around how to create a profile, you know, how to do some searching and using groups. So those are available if you want to. They're, you know, like just a few minutes. Then we also have a few different tools and templates down here. So we have some different rubrics for open educational practice. We have a permissions guide for educators, some librarian leadership resources here, and some of our webinars. So if you're interested in kind of, you know, exploring some of these different tools and supports, we have a lesson template here that's more for K-12, but if you're interested in thinking about templates and kind of, you know, support for authoring, we included that in there as well. So there's definitely, you know, a lot of opportunities to involve your librarians here as well. So that's great that there's interest there. And the workflow for adding future admins, that's a great question. So basically once you are an administrator, I'm just clicking on a random college here, San Mateo, just over the hill. You can, when you're in manage group, you can add your administrators here in the profile information. So you just add their email. So, you know, if I wanted to add myself, just to kind of show, I'd put my email here and then click add admin. And then here I am as a group administrator. So you just really need their emails to add them. And then this pass the torch feature was basically just like when there was a change, you know, a transition, you know, in leadership, then you can hand it to somebody else. So I really encourage you all to, we'll make sure that we get you if you're not already an admin in there, and, you know, feel free to make the group your own, you know, with whatever kind of, you know, some of these don't have descriptions in there, so you can write about kind of, you know, what your goal is for, you know, doing this work together in the description and things like that. Is there a limited number of admins allowed? I don't think we have that, because I know some of our groups have, you know, around like 10 admin. They're just kind of sharing sharing the workload. So I don't think so, but I can follow up and just make sure, but I don't believe so. It's a great question. Any other questions? I'm curious, just from, you know, folks on the call, I know this is just kind of an intro here, but are there any of you, you know, that are currently doing some kind of OER curation or authoring that can, see some of these tools and supports helping do what you do? Or, do you have any specific needs around some of your OER work right now that you'd like to kind of talk through the workflow or have any questions on? Would just love to know from anyone on the call what you're working on, and maybe how this can help you achieve what you're trying to do.
You can unmute yourself if you'd like to say something. We don't have to raise a hand. And I'd just like to let you know, I was approached by colleagues at my college, 2 who are retiring, and said that they had resources that they didn't want to just disappear. And so they were using OER they had created. So this summer, because as you know, faculty and staff at colleges, the summer, once they're retired and not on pay, then they'll have time to get all the information to me so we can post it there. And I imagine that's when a lot of you will be doing that.
Yeah, summer can be a great time to kind of
Post up.
vote. Yeah. Yeah, without hopefully too many distractions like we have during the school year.
Yeah, Megan, since we only have a few minutes left, I was wondering if you could discuss what the follow-up will be for each of the other webinars. And then I just want to explain just a little bit to Antoinette's question about having a hub for each college would be beneficial when there's resistance among faculty. So the hub is actually what we've paid for, the Michelson 20 Million Minds Foundation. That's paid for a hub which can have unlimited groups underneath it. And so I'm an administrator on the hub, but I'm not an administrator in each of your colleges right now. So we want each college to have control of their own, what they want to do. And we didn't want to make a decision that would affect all of the colleges. So you can individualize. If each college wants its own hub, then there's a cost associated with running that. But we thought it would be easier for us to just do the overall cost to set it all up in there. So I hope that what there is there. You can look in your own college's groups, even for unpublished materials yet. So if you want to see what your colleagues are doing, maybe in your discipline or even across another discipline to get some ideas, you can see that in your own group before, as a member of the group. It doesn't require you to be an admin for that. It's just that you can't see into another group that you're not a member of until they publish. So Megan, you were going to have some, you have some follow-up webinars you were going to discuss.
Yeah, well, and I also just wanted to kind of echo what we're seeing with hubs, especially, for state collaboration. It's so exciting to have an opportunity for all of, California community colleges to support each other in this one central place. So if we had, like a hub for each college, we wouldn't be as connected as we are on this one. And I think, what we found is a lot of folks are kind of tackling similar challenges, in transitioning to OER and things like that. So being able to support each other in this one central space, I think is really exciting. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes up. Like thanks for sharing, Leslie, around your need area for international relations and comparative politics resources. That's great to see. And so for future webinars, we haven't scheduled them yet, but typically we do 3 to kind of help folks get started on the hub. And so we do this intro one, and then we like to do one specifically focusing on the authoring and remixing tools that we have. If some of you already have some things you want to share, it's always great to bring those, and we can kind of walk through that together and show how that works. And then our third, and sometimes we'll even, combine it if you want for kind of a longer webinar. If we just want to do 2 webinars, we're super flexible with your time and what y'all want to do, is really thinking about engagement. Because I'm sure you've seen with other initiatives, like sometimes people think like if we build it, they will come kind of approach to, digital collaboration and sharing. But we've really found that having a strategy and a plan for outreach and advocacy to make sure that folks are utilizing these tools and collaborating is really important. So that's the third topic that we like to look at is really, putting together an engagement strategy and plan to get folks on board. So, yeah, copyright is definitely something that, we can talk about too. We've really tried to simplify the kind of copyright licensing indicators on the resources. So you'll see, a lot of them have Creative Commons licensing, or if they have a custom license, we try to make that really clear and easy to understand. So we'll, Barbara will work with you to schedule those upcoming webinars for a time that works for folks. And it's great to know what other kind of things are top of mind for you. So we can, spend some time, especially in the authoring one, thinking about copyright. Consistent terminology is great. Are you sharing your subject terms so everyone is using the same ones? For kind of our back end, how we, have like our ways of describing the resources, you can see that in our Discover resources if you're interested in that. But I'm not sure, Iris, if you want to share a little bit more about, like, are you talking about like for specific courses or, but yeah, sometimes we have kind of varying terminology that we use for course materials, but we really try to streamline it on our site. So we have our main subject areas, and then as you look at kind of the subjects within these subject areas, we try to keep it really consistent.
Megan, I have one question. I can't believe that I forgot this. On that form that we filled out, we forgot to ask you for your email address. So if you could just go into the chat for those of you who are still here and just put your email address. We can figure out how to match your email address to your name. I'm pretty good at that. I just am totally embarrassed. And then I'll capture that. I can't believe, of all things. Oh, thank you all. Thank you. What a ridiculous thing I forgot.
Oh my gosh. Don't beat yourself up. It happens to the best of us.
and then Megan, before we close down, I have to figure out how to capture the chat.
Yes. So I will have this, I can share it with you. And yeah, like I mentioned, we're recording this. So
but that doesn't capture the chat.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
It's on a separate file. So I'll just send that directly to you.
Totally embarrassed. Thank you.
Don't worry about it. It happens. So we will, we will share a link to this recording if you want to share it with any colleagues to help them get started. And, you have our contact information. I believe, Barbara, is it best, do you want folks to contact you directly?
Absolutely.
With questions? Okay.
That'd be great. And then I just want to let you know, I'll be sending out another email to all of you now that I have your email addresses, which will include a link to the recording. We will also post it probably on the DE coordinators listserv and the OER coordinators. I have to put those in BCC because there's no listserv that I have access to for that, so that you will maybe get 2 emails from me, but it will have that information, and we'll send out the follow-up email address. And some of you actually have said, can I start now? So this is what we need these for, to get you all as your admins.
Wonderful. That's great. And yeah, we do have instructional videos too on the site too, or on the hub. So I know we went over quite a few things, but if there's something you want to look closer at, you can look at one of the videos, or feel free to watch this again. But yeah, thanks everyone so much for being a part of today. And we're really looking forward to following up and supporting this work moving forward. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Megan, so much. And
Thank
to
you,
Ahmed, who
Barbara.
did a lot of the back work.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.